there we go. Okay, so I just got a little tutorial on the microphone, just to let all the candidates know, to remind you to turn the microphone on when you're speaking and off when you're not. It's just pushing that push button right in the middle. I just learned that. So thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Candidate Forum, sponsored by Zone PTA. We're very excited that you are all here tonight. We are live streaming tonight, and it will also be taped, so you can go back and look at it. It will be on the YouTube channel for the district starting tomorrow morning. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for coming out tonight and thanking for helping us with this amazing event, because we have 11 candidates. So the reason why we took some of the questions beforehand is because once we get started, we really want to be very efficient with allowing everyone to have their own input on each of the questions. So we'll start, and I don't know if Ed says this, but we'll start with a 90-second opening for each person. They each have a minute to talk, and then a 90-second close for each of the people. And we will be done at 9 o'clock, so it is time. And thank you for League of Women Voters timing us. We want to thank the district, Dr. Malash and Barbara Wilson, who have been great. Thank you very much. And again, thank you all for coming. And there's water and snacks in the back. Feel free to help yourselves.
And one quick thing, a lot of you already have done it, but there's our index cards. If you'd like, we'll take questions the rest of the night via index cards only, not hand raising, okay? Okay? All right, thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Good to see the whole group out here interested in this topic. My name is Ed Gracely. Over here. Gracie, I'd like to welcome you to this Candidates Forum on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Camden County and the Cherry Hill Zone PTA. The League of Women Voters welcomes all adult residents, men as well as women, even 16-year-olds can now be a member of the League, who support our mission. Membership in the League provides opportunities to be involved in unique activities that help others become active as citizens. For example, keeping time and moderating at forums. We'll train you. Registering voters, especially at a naturalization ceremony, is truly rewarding, sometimes even inspirational. Playing a role in our annual leadership program for high school girls, Running and Winning, helps them discover the challenges and rewards of public office. If any of this sounds interesting and you'd like to join us, talk to me or any of the League members here afterwards. We even got our president here. Cool. Now, it's important to understand that for today's purpose, that the League is strictly nonpartisan. Means that while we do take positions on issues like protecting the environment and women's rights, we never oppose or support individual candidates or parties for any elective office. Furthermore, Camden County League policy is that the moderator must not be eligible to vote in the election being moderated, and therefore would have no interest in it. I live in Winslow Township, nowhere near Cherry Hill. So the timekeepers and the basic structure, the timekeeper, Joan DeVore, sitting there, our main timekeeper. Kristen Burke will be collecting cards and perhaps helping Joan, depending on how many cards there are. Joan lives in Voorhees and Kristen lives in Pensacola. So neither of our helpers either live in Cherry Hill. Okay. Joan will give 15-second warnings to the candidates by holding up the yellow card. Joan, you show us the yellow card. Good. And then we'll signal that time is up by showing the red card. I'll allow candidates to briefly finish a sentence. Now, if I hold my mouth just above this, does it boom less? Briefly finish a sentence, but please quickly come to a conclusion when time has run out. Time may not be banked or given to another candidate. The closing statements are a little longer. They're 2 minutes, so we will give the candidates 30-second warning, and I'll remind people of that as we go along. In this election, we have 11 candidates for 3 full terms on the Board of Election. Quite a bit of competition. 3 of the candidates are incumbents, and I believe we have 9 of the 11 here tonight. The forum will start with opening statements, followed by audience questions. I've got lots of cards, plus some cards that were prepared in advance. If you want to write a question on a card, the cards are out there. Just one question on a card. Keep it short. Remember, the candidates only have mostly a minute to answer. They don't have time to say, will you tell us about this question and about that question? When you're done with that, talk about this one. No, that doesn't work. One question per card. And then we'll end with closing statements from the candidates. I remind all the candidates and members of the public to stick to issues relevant to the Office of Board of Ed and not bring in personal matters or other matters unrelated to that office. I also remind members of the public that video or audio taping of this forum is not permitted without prior authorization. Candidates have been assured there will be no unauthorized taping, and I politely ask that you respect that. All right, so we'll begin with the opening statements. Candidates will speak in random order. They each have 90 seconds with a 15-second warning. Now, so let us start with Sanjay Sharma.
Hi. Yeah. Okay. Hello. Yeah. Hi, I am Sanjay Sharma, and I am a proud resident of Cherry Hill Township for over more than 7 years now. And here, I and my wife, Indu, are raising our two beautiful children, Arav and Samaira. They are in elementary school in J.F. Cooper. Both our kids attend the Cherry Hill Public Schools, so I wanted to improve the school condition as well as other issues we are facing right now in the Cherry Hill. I have a BSc degree in mathematics and physics with minor in chemistry, as well as I am very much interested in education as well as practical knowledge too. I'm a director level IT professional responsible for managing data application and platforms for a global Philadelphia-based company. And I have worked in several Fortune 500 companies as a project lead, IT manager, as well as software developer. I have been working in different industries like healthcare, insurance, finance, retail, manufacturing, and I have more than 21 years of experience in software development. My wife, Indu, has always been an active PTA member, and I immigrated from India in year 1999 and become citizen here in 2009. After that, living in multiple states in US, I finally decided to make Cherry Hill my home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next candidate is Kathy Judge.
Good evening. I am Kathy Judge, and it is my honor to run for re-election for the community of Cherry Hill. Over the 10 years that I've been on the board, additional responsibilities that I have had include I was board president from 2013 to 15. I was vice president of the board for 2 years prior, from 2011 to 13. At the county level, I am on the board of directors for the Camden County Education Services Commission since 2011. At the state level, I am the vice president on the executive board of the Garden State Coalition of Schools since 2012. With the New Jersey School Boards Association, I serve as an alternate on the legislative committee for Camden County since 2014. The key issues that I intend to concentrate on should I be reelected include continuing to fight for our fair share of state funding, our aging facilities, and the bond referendum on December 11th, and I am hopeful for a one-to-one technology initiative in the older grades. I am excited that we will offer full-day kindergarten to begin in the fall of 2019, ratifying the CHEA teacher's contract before the old contract expired, and receiving a little more than $3 million in additional state aid this past July made for a great summer for the Cherry Hill School District. I look forward to sharing some of my thoughts with you this evening and to help you make a decision for the future of the Cherry Hill School District. Thank you very much.
Thank you. David Rossi.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. My name is David Rossi. I am running for the Board of Education for a number of reasons. I have 3 children. 2 have already graduated through the Cherry Hill District, and 1 is in 2nd grade. When my family and I came to Cherry Hill 12 years ago, one of the reasons we decided to come here was for the reputation for the outstanding educational opportunities in the public schools. We have a fantastic community as well as fantastic schools. However, I do believe that there are improvements which can be made within the Cherry Hill public school system. Improvements in a number of areas. Infrastructure as it relates to health and well-being of students, staff, and administrators. Building security, not only physical security, but creating a more inclusive culture in all the schools for all. Improving dialogue with all stakeholders in order to be sure the board is representing all students, community members, but also taking in consideration what is best for Cherry Hill School District as a whole with a vision which considers the long-range impacts. Making sure we as a district are doing everything to hold state legislators accountable in providing Cherry Hill Public Schools state-funded commitments by encouraging fellow board members, school administrators, and the community to work together. Currently, I am the Sharp Elementary PTA Chair for 2018-2019. I currently serve on a number of advisory boards for nonprofits in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Sally Tong.
Oh, sorry. Good evening. My name is Sally Tong. I graduated from Stony Brook about 20 years ago. Well, I work in the healthcare sector for over 20 years. Currently, I'm being involved in the consulting and networking with health professionals in the area of functional medicine through the NutriMetrics program. In other words, address the underlying cause of the disease and then implement the therapeutic approach. I also run an online weight management program. Our family has been residents of Cherry Hill for over 23 years. My husband and I have 4 children. They all attended Cherry Hill School District, including the Horace Mann, James Johnson, Rosa, and the East. Our oldest graduated from the UPenn and now in the medical program. Our second son is currently at the Rutgers in New Brunswick. My 2 youngest is now at the high school and then the elementary school. I have always been active in the PTA activity in our children's school over the years, especially enjoy fundraising for the student activities and seeing them. I volunteer at the school library and read books to the students at the grade level. I have great passion for volunteerism and philanthropy. Currently serve as the Vice President of Children of Chinese Asian Mormon Sisterhood Society of Philadelphia and the PR Force Veteran. Now, I would like to bring this community to environment more closer to home. So instead of going to Philly more often, I'll stay home.
Your time is up. And do I see another candidate having arrived? Yes. How do you pronounce your last name, sir? Dandy. Okay. Just checking. All right. I think actually you are the next in line then, sir. Frederick Dandy.
Okay. My name is Frederick Dande, and I'm a Cherry Hill resident. I have 3 kids within the school district. First of all, I want to thank all the parents, the community members who have given us the privilege to be here, and the organizers of this, and especially all the 11 of us who are running. I remember when I first moved into Cherry Hill, this township, there are cases where the elections were sometimes uncontested. So I'm glad that there's enough organizing that make parents and everybody else to actually run. So that's pretty much why I'm here. The reason why I'm running to put our kids first and kind of in a way stop the current rubber stamping by the current board, where there's the administration is enabled to actually kind of profess fear, intimidation, and retaliation for if you've been to the board meetings. There are cases where parents are standing up to talk about an issue, and the way they're being addressed is pretty much sometimes borderline not really respectful. Communities are always judged by how we treat our most vulnerable members, who are in this case are our kids. And if I'm given the honor of representing parents, teachers, and our children, and the entire Cherry Hill community as a school board member, I will ensure that I continue to foster transparency within the community by always championing involvement and communication.
Your time is up, sir. Thank you. Okay. Barry Dickinson.
I'd like to start off by thanking the League of Women Voters and the Cherry Hill Zone PTA for affording us this opportunity to meet and have this dialogue. I'm running for re-election to the Board of Education for several reasons. One, education is intrinsically important to me. I work as an educator as Dean of the School of Business at Holy Family University. I've spent decades as a student in college, culminating in earning my doctorate degree from Drexel University. My wife is an educator. She is a certified special education teacher in Winslow Township. I see firsthand the hours of work involved when choosing teaching as a profession. Both of our children are products of the Cherry Hill School District, one of whom currently attends Cherry Hill West. Sitting on the Board of Education allows me to contribute my experience to the benefit of 11,000 students in the district. Second, serving on the board is very personally rewarding. Being involved with meeting new employees, viewing theatrical and musical performances, recognizing individual student achievements, and attending graduation are some of my most favorite activities. It is at these moments when you get to see the results of our hard work. Finally, serving on the board is a way to give back to the district that was given so much to my family. It is the ultimate form of volunteerism. We work many hours, attend countless events, and have to make hard decisions that are sometimes unpopular. But in the end, it is all worthwhile to support the children of the district.
Thank you. Ken Tomlinson.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for moderating tonight, Zone PTA for hosting, the public for coming and listening to all of us speak tonight, and I'd also like to thank my family for their understanding and support at my time here on the school board. My name is Ken Tomlinson. I have 4 children. 3 of them currently are in the district. Next year, all 4 will be students in the district at all 4 levels. I will have a preschooler, elementary school, middle school, and a high schooler next year. 3 years ago, I asked you, the community, to support me to be a newly minted school board member. I'm before you tonight to ask for your support again, not as a neophyte, but as an experienced choice for school board. Over the last 3 years, we have had an impact on the district by adding a number of new programs and initiatives, including, but not limited to, full-day kindergarten, which will be starting next year. We've added Mandarin Chinese to our 1st through 12th grade comprehensive world language program. And for the entire 3 years, at some level, we've been discussing the board, which was introduced to the public just a few weeks ago. It's something that we've been working on for a number of years that I'm excited to see, and I'm excited to see the results for in the coming years. So thank you all again for joining tonight, and I look forward to the thoughts on this forum.
Thank you. Rosie Arroyo.
Good evening, everyone. I'm loving the vibe in here and all the excitement about tonight's forum. I wanted to share with you why I wanted to run for school board, and most importantly, everything I do revolves around youth, family, voice in the community. I have extensive experience in developing strategic community engagement models, not only here in Camden County, but statewide and in the national level. I believe my expertise will bring a very diverse, inclusive discussion, especially regarding some of the things that I see key in investing in Cherry Hill, specifically investing in early childhood development strategies, innovative practices to expand on our youth at an early age. Improving school climate. This is one of my areas of expertise as I work with many school districts and law enforcement agencies to develop restorative justice practices in their schools and outside in their communities to help support and reduce bullying and any cyber harassment in their schools. I also want to focus on inclusivity. I have been trained in race equity inclusive models across Camden County and New Jersey, so to the extent that I have been asked to travel across the U.S., implementing these models in cities like St. Louis. I'd also like to diversify our funding opportunities and strengthen the teachers and staff capacity by implementing these community engagement strategies at all levels. It's not just about implementing forums, but implementing the results of those forums to develop effective policy and practices for our youth specifically. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Shore.
Hello, and my name is Ben Shore, and I'm running for Board of Education. First, let me tell you that I am a graduate of Woodcrest Elementary School, Beck Middle School, and Cherry Hill High School East. I've done the entire Cherry Hill school system, and I believe that puts me at a huge advantage for knowing our true problems. I've heard board members say that they're doing stuff, but we, the students, don't know what they're doing. We are the generation of change, and we do not want them reelected. We need new, fresh opinions, fresh thoughts, and I think that's something I can offer. I have worked in the local, state, federal, and international level. Currently, I work for the 115th United States Congress, and I work as a legislative intern on many things, environmental, animal. I attend educational briefings as often as possible from world-renowned experts. I'm willing to bring the knowledge of the organizations, all that exists that we do not utilize, and bring them here. There are so many people and so many organizations that can help us for free or little to no money. And we're not taking advantage of it. Why not? Maybe we don't know about it, but I do. And I want to fight for us here, state level, and in DC. And I also would like to rid corruption.
Thank you. Laurie Neary.
Thank you. I'm Laurie Neary. I'm a lifelong resident of South Jersey. I grew up nearby. I, like everybody else in this room, moved to the community for the school district and for the outstanding schools and teachers that we have here. However, in knowing that, I cannot say that it is perfect. And I became involved in my journey about 3 years ago when I became involved with fair funding and lobbying our state and local legislators. I also became involved with CHSEPTA as I have 4 children in the district and 2 with special needs. I'm running because right now, I think now more than ever, it is important for all involved to use our voice. We are obligated to do so. So I am here running for Board of Ed to speak for our children and for the community members, to have some accountability and transparency and engagement with the community as much as we possibly can. I think it is important and it is imperative we do it. So I hope that the community will come out and vote, as many as possible, and vote for my members here. It's very important that everybody do that. And I thank everyone here. I don't think anybody here got involved because they didn't care about the children or aren't passionate about education. So I thank everyone for coming, and I hope to see you on November 6th.
Okay, thank you all. I didn't miss anybody, did I? I don't think so. Now we come to the question and answer portion. I have a number of questions on cards. Some may be similar to each other. I'll use my discretion to try to select as many different questions as possible. We're not going to get through as many as we might like because luckily for Cherry Hill, you've got an abundance of candidates, which makes for a forum that gets a little longer. Please don't be upset if your question isn't used. Now, a few of the questions may be addressed to a particular candidate. I don't see very many like that, but if they are, that candidate will get a minute and a half. Most of the ones I'm looking at here are simply addressed to all the candidates. So everyone will get 1 minute, 60 seconds with a 15-second warning. Okay? So, and I'm going to continue doing it in random order, as I have been. And here's the first question everybody's been wondering about, the must-ask question. Do you support the bond referendum? Why or why not? All right, and we'll start with Kathy Judge.
Boy, aren't I lucky. I do support the bond referendum. I have seen all the facilities work that needs to be done. We've been concentrating on our long-range facilities plan for a few years now. There's just so much work to be done that I am in strong support of the bond. Questions 1, 2, and 3. I think it's imperative that it pass. I recall sitting out in the audience at board meetings where boards decided to keep the money in the classroom and ignore facilities, and I don't mean to use the term ignore because it's a little harsh, but put facilities work on the back burner, and we cannot do that any longer. There's too much work to be done to it just is imperative. I don't mean to repeat myself, but it's absolutely imperative, and yes, so I'm in strong support of the bond on December 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. Frederick Dandy.
Okay. I know we've had iterations of the bond referendum, and my stand as it is, I do not support it. I know that we can make it better. And it's not a one-time thing. If something is wrong with it, like, you know, we have 200 million right now as a district that we are really not, we have no bid contracts here and there. We have security assessments that weren't done and stuff. Like, one thing that has been out there, if you've been in touch with what is going on, there's a lot of money that is being spent on stuff on that referendum that really doesn't cost how much they say that it costs. So I believe that if improved, I can fully support it. But the way it is right now, I do not support it.
Thank you. Ken Tomlinson.
Yes, I do support the bond. The bond empowers the district to do some much needed improvements and upgrades across the district, all 19 schools. If you go online, all of the project information you can find on our website. It provides security instructional spaces that we need to move into the next century. It starts the process. We started this process in 2016 through many discussions, visioning of what the district could be, long-range facility planning done by the administration. But we're not done. Just because the bond's out there does not mean that it's done. A lot of the detailed work, what's going into each individual project, still has to be done. As the bids are going out, that is when the details start coming out. This bond also has an impact of only 64 cents a day to our taxpayers here in Cherry Hill, and provides lasting improvements for our students across the district. The plan was also formulated to maximize as much as we could state contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Laurie Neary.
Thank you. I don't think there's a person in this room that hasn't walked our schools long enough to know that we absolutely have to do something. I mean, you can't say anything other than that. Do I believe we need a bond? Yes, I believe we need a bond. Am I 100% correct that we've got this bond right? No, I'm not. But it will be irrelevant because the voters will vote on December 11th. And after that, it will be the responsibility of the board to oversee whatever is voted upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosie Arroyo.
It's been my experience in putting together strategic plans, most recently a 3-year strategic plan, which isn't nearly as long as our bond, but every year we do corrective amendments to that plan, and that's just within a 3-year range period. So I believe that there are things that we need to upgrade and we need to do immediately. Yes, we have to have more details and expect that from the school district, especially considering health and air quality, sustainability practice, security. But because right now the need is to develop and implement our buildings and create stronger facilities, if we don't approve it, or if the vote goes whichever way it goes, we have to think that there is always opportunities to amend it and consider to hold our district accountable for things that need to be implemented. I do have experience in implementing and amending state legislative applications. This is a possibility, so we should not be as concerned that we can't make changes coming through the years.
Thank you. Ben Shore.
All right, so I am familiar with changing state laws. I've passed one myself, and I know what we can do. Also, right now, I think that what we need to do is we need to look a lot more into it. I think the bond is just bad. It's not going to protect your children at all. It's not going to make your kids feel safe. I mean, I've asked fellow students, do they think they're going to feel safe with these improvements? No. Why would you pay more money for something that's not going to help? I think we should have truly consulted with experts. We really didn't speak to enough, and we didn't put enough information into finding this. And we should have spent more time and got more resources, because there's so many different safety grants right now, especially from the federal government. I don't know why we're not taking advantage of those. We should be, but we're not. And I just say a vote no for it.
Thank you. Sally Tong.
I'm not sure if I approve or not yet with the bond setting, but if I would to put the bond in good use, I would say we need a modernized school buildings. All the schools that we have are over 40, 50, 60 years old. And that means our building is going to collapse in one way or the other. Even with payment, if there's leaking, the foundation is not in the right statutes, we need to make a change. Whatever that change needs to be done, we need to do it as soon as possible. That's my goal for that.
Thank you. Barry Dickinson.
I support the bond. All three questions. I've been fortunate enough in my 6 years on the board to actually have visited all 19 buildings in this district. And I've seen with my own eyes the condition in which the buildings exist. And they all require repairs. Not to the extent that you may read about. They're not going to fall down. Just like our houses, you have to constantly maintain them. The oldest building in the district was built in 1955, so they need upkeep. And we've been investing year in and year out with millions of dollars in capital improvements to maintain them, but with 19 buildings, that doesn't cut it. We need to have this bond. We need to have the first question passed, particularly because most of the security measures are in that bond, and it also cascades down and ensures that at least the next two questions have an opportunity to pass.
Thank you. Sanjay Sharma.
Yeah, hi. I do not support the bond in the current state because it does not justify the amount they are spending on different vestibules and building and stuff. So basically the buildings are old and we know there are a lot of issues, but at the same time we cannot just blindly allocate some budget without knowing the facts, right? Like currently what is the cost of new building or repair, or do we have to add new like new other different things which can improve the school system. Also, the security on amount which is mentioned in the bond just does not justify the security of the kids also. So that's why I don't support this. Thanks.
Thank you. David Rossi.
So the bond has just been released, the final copy of it, approximately 2 weeks ago. I've been following it for about a year. It has gone from a one-question bond, approximately $150 million, to a three-question bond, $210 million, almost $211. It is true, our schools are in pretty bad shape. We have 19 schools ranging from the age 41 to 61 years old. It's also true that the lack of state funding that we received, at best estimates, is $150 million over 10 years, is in part the reason why that they are in the shape that they are in. It is my belief that we need to have a comprehensive look at doing a lot of work that needs to be done, but also possibly rebuilding some of these schools from the ground up. Without that, I say a 20-year bond to the taxpayers at almost $211. I do not believe that this is the correct bond.
Okay, thank you. You got everybody? Good. Next question is again to all the candidates. Everyone will get 60 seconds with the 15-second warning. Choose a current, challenging, educational, and in parentheses, not financial, an educational, not financial issue facing this district, and explain your ideas for improving it, improving this issue. And we'll start with Sally Tong.
Is there any way you can repeat the question?
They're asking you to choose a challenging educational issue. Any education-related issue that you're concerned with, not money, like how do we raise money for something, but obviously everything's related to money in some extent. But the questioner is asking you to pick an educational issue facing the district and how you would work on it, what you would do to improve it.
Well, I have to say that we did accomplish something last year for the world language. And this year we were talking about technology, more technology-based in the high school districts, in the high school areas, so that the children don't have to carry the books back and forth to school every day. It's a very heavy backpack, and I know my house is very petite, our kids are very petite. They all complain of pains they have to suffer every day. So technology, I think, is the way to go for me.
Thank you. Barry Dickinson.
I think one of the educational challenges we face is with English as a second language learners. The district is becoming increasingly diversified, and as the makeup of the district changes over time, we're required to provide resources to teach those children who may not speak English as a first language. We get very little support from the government to help fund that increase in spending that we have to provide in order to teach those children, but it's our responsibility. It's also our responsibility to identify and hire employees that are qualified to teach those students, and that's a challenge as well, because not as many people are trained in that area as we would like to think.
Okay, thank you. Ben Shore.
Yeah, so I think a really big important issue is special education. I think our district really doesn't do enough, and sometimes I think some administrators just don't care. I think that we really need to rethink education. We need to rethink special education. We need to get the support that the teachers need, give them resources to learn how to further improve their skills on how to help out and identify the students, and how to really help students prepare for success. Unfortunately, right now with the administration, some of them, they just let the kids fall through the cracks and they just don't care, or at least this is what I felt. Hopefully, if elected, I will replace Dr. Malosh and we can have some real change.
Okay, Ken Tomlinson.
Thank you. For me, it's one-on-one technology for students. That's one thing that I would love to do for students. There's 11,500 students, and I want to ensure that they all have access to that technology. You know, in my role, in my private employment with a makerspace, it's something that people come into not having access to hands-on technology, not having access to, you know, creating their own electronics or programming to build anything. So it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I think is a problem because technology can be an equalizer in our system. And I would like to increase access to an education with technology.
Thank you. Rosie Arroyo.
Education is a holistic model in my view. So in order to do any innovation, engage the community in the right way, create inclusive and diverse curriculums, we really have to develop the classroom and make sure that each of our youth are ready to learn at the beginning of the day. There are various curriculums out there that are free and available to our school districts that include positive behavior supports in schools, trauma-informed practices, other leadership curriculum activities. The ideology to support inclusive curriculums is very, very important. Because of our diverse community, we need to make sure we meet the needs not only on an individual basis, but as a holistic community-based approach. And all of these models, along with some of the supports and innovation, one-on-one technology, all of that can only work if we do a holistic approach and why we are implementing those models. So whenever we do anything, we need to look at it from the lens of that youth that's receiving that education.
Thank you. Kathy Judge.
Well, two things come to mind with that question. Took me a minute, but I'm glad I had a minute. Title I, the schools that are Title I, especially if families are able to receive free and reduced lunch, they don't tend to reach out for that. Sometimes it's due to embarrassment or whatever. They don't take advantage of that. So that is one thing that we could work on to make it more comfortable. I know that the PTs do a good job when they hear that families are struggling, et cetera. And the other thing I thought of, and I don't really have an answer for it, is teacher morale in some of the buildings seems to be lower than other buildings. I know Dr. Malash is doing his staff tour throughout the district and having a Q&A period before school starts to talk to staff with their questions and concerns. So that's a start with dealing with teacher morale in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Sanjay Sharma.
Yeah, hi. Actually, I have two issues. One is basically the special need children. The parent of the special need children, they don't get enough information. And actually my thinking is instead of them going to different departments and getting knowledge about it and like trying to get more information about how to do different things, the school should provide like one window shopping type of information so that they don't have to go in different departments to get the information. And the second is the STEM and the practical education. Right now, the way the education is going, we have to be like on top of everything. So STEM and the practical education, I want to implement in the schools so that kids get hands-on experience as well as they know what exactly they are going to face when they go in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. David Rossi.
So I talk with a lot of community members and students. A topic that came up recently, and I'll use that, is elementary world language. Now, there's a lot of thought from community members that they feel that it would be an advantage as elementary kids, children, students grow. They could have world language under their belt, and they can have that experience. We all know that secondary languages in today's world is definitely an advantage, and most know that children learn a second language much more proficiently at an early age. With that, there are challenges in trying to implement something like that. Obviously, recruiting teachers, training them, and keeping them, but also fitting them in the schedule, as well as fitting them in the budget. And also, what do we give up if we have elementary school children not devoted to their other core classes?
Okay. Thank you. Laurie Neary.
Thank you. So one key area that is of interest for me is mental health, children's mental health, not just at the middle school and high school level, but it is a concern in our schools nationwide. But at the elementary level, where I feel like we can do the most good for our students and help them identify students, work with the families, help the teachers, provide assistance for the teachers that are facing these issues. The district rolled out the Stop It app this year, which I think was a great step forward. But I think there's so much more that we can do. Let's not isolate our students that are suffering. Let's help them, include them, help the other students who may see it as an opportunity to prey on the weak. Do what we can, and then let's help our teachers so that they can handle these situations as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Frederick Dandy.
Okay. I think an issue that I would focus on is getting our kids to actually play more. It's something that, I've talked to some parents. I'm always big on data. My background is IT. And if you look at where we as a country are and where other countries are, our schools are really not the first anymore. I think we rank like 8th. As a district in New Jersey, we rank like beyond 50s. I think Cherry Hill East just got ranked like 55 or something in the district. So the last 10 years before, the district was great, but right now we have room for a lot of performance. The stress level of our students is high. We need to get students to play more. So we have to have policies that can actually enable them to do that. Another thing, there's a lot of bullying that starts going on, and that's part of, students being stressed out. I have 3 kids in the district, and some of the things that they go through in the day can get better.
Okay,
so we need to get our head out of the sand and focus on performance.
Thank you. Okay. Next question. What are you doing about security, or if elected to the board, what would you and should you do about security in the schools, I assume? And we'll start with Frederick Dandy.
Okay. What I would do is stop being reactive. I would stop having policies based on what is going around in the nation or what the community is getting frustrated about. So I would work with the board to be more proactive, to have a 5, a 10-year strategy on how to make our schools more secure. And it's not rocket science. It's something that is being done, other schools or companies around. So we just need to learn and get all the stakeholders involved to make our school secure. We have a case where we don't even have doors that are working that can be locked. So that is common sense stuff. We just need a maintenance person to be able to attend to that. So I would apply common sense in getting what needs to be done, but most importantly, stop being reactive.
Thank you. Rosie Arroyo.
In terms of security, it'd be really important for me to share with you my experience in engaging law enforcement and other experts in the community. And by community, I mean not only your city, municipal alliances, all your stakeholders, parents, community organizations, everybody at the table to have discussions on why and how things inadvertently affect our youth, the way we aren't seeing face-to-face or face value every day. Mental health is an issue that we have to deal with. There are resources out there locally that we can access that can support some of our families, some of the teachers in our schools to implement proper strategies to help them effectively run their classroom. Security is not just about your building, but it's about how effectively we as staff and community members run that building. And how do we engage our schools to support them in affecting policy and practice in ways that we really recognize youth and family voice at that table. If the youth are not feeling secure, some of the proper starting points in community engagement is effectively engaging law enforcement and having proper conversations to develop strategies for security measures.
Thank you. Ben Shore.
Well, I think that we definitely need automatic locking doors, sex offender checks, playground fences. I mean, elementary schools, like, if you're on the playground, children should have fences. I really wanted to see the buildings and take a look at it myself, but unfortunately, Dr. Milosh did deny me access to see any of the security features that it claims are in effect. And based on what I know, a lot of times the things that have been claimed have not always been accurate due to, quote-unquote, what he released as clerical errors. However, I just believe it's falsely reporting. So I wanted to see it so I can make sure to tell you, the people, whether or not it's true, but unfortunately, I don't know. But if I am elected, I want a whole bunch of new security equipment, and most importantly, I would like to work with the township to create a new Cherry Hill Police School Force.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Judge.
Security of our children is our #1 priority every day, every building, every principal, every teacher. Cherry Hill has a campus police force of 9. It's the only public school district in the state that has their own armed police force. We changed the policy in March or so to do that. We hired additional 5 officers to make 9 total. The township, we have a wonderful relationship with the township. The township signed over 2 cars to us. They're parked out back. They're marked Cherry Hill Board of Education. And we have a wonderful collaborative relationship with the Cherry Hill Police Department that worked well last week when we had when there was an issue, when there was an issue at West. Our bond referendum includes security vestibules, cameras, and swipe access cards in all the schools. And that's one of the many reasons why I support the bond on December 11th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sanjay Sharma.
Yeah. Hi. Basically for the security, right now, like there are so many things going on, and actually we don't understand how we can secure the schools, because all doors are open, kids are everywhere, and when you say about security, you cannot just simply have a pod or something inside the classroom which can save the kids. So my thinking is, like, we have to put some policies where we know what exactly is going on inside the school, as well as any activity which we see is suspicious, we can immediately work on it instead of waiting for something to happen. And I'm in favor of putting cameras so that we know what exactly is going on around the school, as well as strong doors and swipe cards too. Thanks.
Thank you. Laurie Neary.
Thank you. So much like my previous answer regarding mental health, one of the biggest indicators of a situation in a school is the climate of the students, the climate of the teachers, as to how safe they feel. The students typically are not fearful of some random stranger coming into the building, but yet another student within the building. So how are we addressing that? How do we correct that? How do we help the students? What programs do we put in place that goes beyond the Stop It App, much further than that, and helping them long before they get to high school? By then, it's too late. We can help these kids much sooner, so by the time they get to high school, they feel more safe, more secure, comfortable. Their teachers aren't fearful. What are the concerns of the teachers? Let's communicate with them, engage them, understand their concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ken Tomlinson.
I'll start off with saying that supporting the bond is how I see this. And also, as the board implemented the only New Jersey district that has our own police force. And this is really important, especially for me, because it allows the district to make decisions about what type of training and what type of directives they are given, so that we can make our police force look like our student body and train them appropriately to manage the student body that we have. Improving the security culture of staff is also something that we need to continuously do and continuously improve. And I will tell you that we've also talked about continuous improvements that are beyond the bond, things that we want to continue talking about and continue finding room for. And also receiving continued input from our security experts during the bid development process after the bond is passed in December. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry Dickinson.
I just want to step back for a second to use this as kind of a illustration of what the board does. The board doesn't really make these decisions. The decisions that we made as a board was to change the policy to allow guns in the school. That's it. We don't make decisions about specific security practices. That's done by administration. So I just wanted to point that out. I agree with my colleagues. I think that in this last year, we've made some superior security improvements. We have armed campus police in our buildings. We have never had armed police in Cherry Hill buildings ever before. I think that that's a major deterrent. We're the only district in the state that has that, and I think that we're way beyond everybody else. And if you support the bond, pass question 1, a lot of other security measures will be implemented.
Thank you. David Rossi.
So it is true, the #1 responsibility of the district is the safety and security of our children. Dr. Malash says it frequently, and he also says it's about the people. Security is each and every one of the administrators, the teachers, and the staff. When we talk about security, we have 2 aspects in my mind. We have the physical security, and then we also have the cultural and climate security. I would agree with my running mate Laurie here that that is a huge piece of it. I do speak to students, and one of the issues that they say is big when it comes to security is the bullying, and they are afraid that a student may come and do harm in retaliation. We can build a fortress if we'd like, and we can bring in security experts if we'd like, but we do need to address it, and the district has made a number of changes in that aspect when it comes to physical security, but more needs to be done on the other end.
Thank you. Sally Tong.
Security is very important in our school. I mean, when I was growing up, there was no door locks or anything. Anybody can come in, no problem. But because the nature of our world today, things are very strange. And we need to look into more carefully into what is the best way to spend the money for security. And I think Rick, our friend Rick, has a lot of information on it. And we should also check into other school districts, what they do for their security system to protect our children.
All right. Thank you. I think that's everybody. So here's a question that gets asked in almost every meeting of every school board. How many board and committee meetings have you attended in the past year, either as a board member or an observer? And then are there any restrictions on your ability to attend meetings in the future? So how many of you attended as a board or observer, and are there restrictions? And we'll start with Rosie Arroyo.
I have attended 2 meetings this year, and both meetings were very intense, and which got me really interested in being and running for the board. I have 2 young children that I hope to be attending Cherry Hill Public School District, but because of my experience and my expertise, I figured I attended those to lend some information and share resources, but in the end, the impact of what was happening at those board meetings had me step up to the plate and do something a little bit more about it.
I'll remind you, the other part of the question was, if you're elected, are there any restrictions?
No, there would be no restrictions.
Okay, thank you. Laurie Neary?
Thank you. I would say I've probably attended at least 1 a month, if not more, and no, there would not be any restrictions.
Thank you. Sanjay Sharma?
Yeah, I attended 2 meetings, and basically I listen all the facts they talked about, and wanted to improve these meetings by just not saying few words in that. Basically, I want to elaborate more, and I want the public to basically get involved into it by like giving some pointers and decisions making process. But also, like, I have seen like a lot of people, they actually, instead of giving ideas and making improvement, they blame this administration, which basically I want to improve. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathy Judge.
I attend all meetings I have to. I would like to turn the question around a little bit and say how many meetings I've missed in the last year, and I've missed, I think, one in the last year. Occasionally we are asked to, if somebody is going to be out of town or whatever, to substitute on a committee. I have done that in the past. And there are no restrictions on any future committee meetings or board meetings. I can be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Tong, or Sally Tong, sorry.
I have been to 4+ more meetings. I can't recall all the meetings, but I remember the one on the bond referendums, and then the world language, and probably with the gun issue, whatever, not the gun, but the security issue, I think, as well. And so far I have no restriction to the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Frederick Dandy.
Okay. As far as restrictions to attending future meetings, I really don't have one. As far as the meetings I've attended at least 2 meetings. And one thing I would say, if I didn't attend a meeting, I won't be here today. As a parent with 3 kids in the district, attending those meetings is what made me run, so that I change the way actually parents are treated in those meetings. We need to have a board that listens, and that is exactly what I plan to do to all the stakeholders in Cherry Hill, to listen more to the concerns of the parents.
Thank you. Ken Tomlinson.
As a board member, I attend 4+ meetings a month. We've had a few over the last 3 years. It also includes Saturday mornings. And in my tenure, I've missed 3. But thanks to the support of my family, both at home and my extended family, I have no restrictions on any future meetings.
Thank you. David Rossi.
I can't count the amount of Board of Education meetings I've been to in the last year. I can count to at least 16. Maybe I can count to 20, somewhere in that way. Not only meetings, a few of the committee meetings, and I definitely enjoyed the coffee and conversation. I actually had one which was one-on-one with myself and Dr. Malash because no one else came. So that was a great hour and a half. I'm not sure he has the same opinion of that hour and a half. As well as the, the other board members see me come up to the microphone fairly regularly. I'm not sure if they cringe when I do at times. But safe to say a number of them. And I have no restrictions.
Thank you. Barry Dickinson.
Over the last year, we probably would have had 24 board meetings plus 24 committee meetings. I think I missed 2 board meetings because of health issues this past winter. But being a board member is not about just the meetings. Being a board member is meeting with the community, meeting with state and local legislators, meeting with special meetings, going to graduation, attending retreats. Being a board member is a very time-intensive job. The public only sees the public part of that. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see as the public. We spend many hours, my folks to the left of me, every year supporting the community and the children of the district.
Thank you. Ben Shore.
Well, we don't see because there's not really that much transparency. So let's continue. So I've attended at least 6 Board of Education meetings, and at least 4 of them I've spoken. It's not enough just to sit there and listen, but to make change. And change is something I promise I will bring you. That is something that I ultimately want to do. And as far as restrictions, I have none.
All right, thank you. I think that's everybody. Our students represent multiple cultures. How do you propose to increase recruiting qualified candidates who reflect the diversity of our community? So again, our students represent multiple cultures. How are you going to increase recruiting qualified candidates who reflect the diversity of our community? And I'll start with Laurie Neary.
Thank you. Well, one, it's how are we recruiting? Where are we recruiting? What schools are we going to? Are we going to diverse universities? Are we reaching out to other districts? I think, one, it's understanding how that is done before we can go ahead and make changes, but I think it's absolutely critical that the staff represents the makeup of the student body. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Tomlinson.
So in the past 3 years, it has been a consistent board goal to increase diversity of our staff here in Cherry Hill. Dr. Malash announced recently that we've hired our most diverse new hire class coming into the district this year, which includes teachers that can speak Bulgarian. It's something that we've actively striven for over years, and we have gone to the events, gone to the colleges, gone to the universities, gone to the programming that bring these teachers to our district. But unfortunately, these programs are also suffering from a lack of people going into them. And so it's something the board continues to keep as one of our goals, and it's something that we'll continue to do into the future.
Okay, thank you. Ben Shore.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Our students represent multiple cultures. How do you propose to increase recruiting qualified candidates, I assume that means teachers and staff, whatever, who reflect the diversity of our community?
First of all, we need to show our teachers that we love them. I feel like a lot of times teachers should want to teach at our schools, and I feel like a lot of times there's tensions between the teachers and the administration, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on. And I know some people here have already mentioned that today. Sometimes the teachers are unhappy. So what I want to do is make it so that the teachers really like the environment. They like where they work, they want to work there, and they come to us, and then we pick out the best ones, because we'll have the best schools.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Judge.
This is a board goal every year. We know this is a challenge. We're competing with all the other school districts trying to hire a diverse staff. This year was a very diverse staff. We had 65 new hires. Unfortunately, only 5 were men, but they were fluent in Arabic, Bulgarian, Turkish, French, Spanish, and Chinese this year. We go to University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Delaware State, Cheney University. We have a relationship with Rowan. There's a program called Project Impact for minority male teachers that we attend. There's a leader consortium of equity and excellence for the state of New Jersey that we participate with. We have gone, in the past, we have gone to Howard University, Morgan State, and Baltimore. So it is a goal every year, a board goal, and we know it needs work, and we will continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Sanjay Sharma.
Yeah, hi. For the multicultural things, basically what happens, you cannot find every single teacher in your district and even in the close proximity. So basically my idea is to promote parents getting involved into this type of education, so that when they see their kids in the school, as well as they know what exactly they want to do, it's better for kids as well as parents both. And like Mr. Tomlinson said, we do have many programs going on, but a lot of people lack information about it. So we have to promote those to get more people involved into it. Thanks.
Thank you. David Rossi.
So when it comes to cultural proficiency, we can look to the great Dr. Chapman's 5-year working document, cultural proficiency, equity, and character education. Look to rule number 2, which says the district will, let me get it precisely right, Goal number 2, recruit, hire, and retain staff of color, including teacher, administration, and support staff. That has already been addressed as a goal from the administration. It's up on the website. It can be seen. It's on the left-hand side. It talks about respect, responsibility, and citizenship. Those are the 3 core tenets. But when it comes to recruiting, it's a process that would have to be done through going to recruiting areas where there is the cultural diversity that you're looking for, the educational institutions in the area and throughout the eastern area to recruit them.
Thank you. Sally Tong.
I'm sorry, I'll forget that. Talk about the cultural diversity. Due to the area we're living in, we can always reach out to other districts, other towns, other states to recruit more new teachers so that we have more diversified teachers in our school district.
Okay. Thank you. Barry Dickinson.
One of the problems that we face in education, working at Holy Family University with a large education school, is that the top of the funnel is shrinking. Over the last 5 years, the Pennsylvania Department of Education has issued 50% fewer teaching certificates than it did 5 years ago. So it's harder to just find qualified candidates, period, regardless of their ethnic background. We do reach out to college fairs in diverse colleges. Dr. Malash has visited historical black colleges and universities and met with the deans of education to try to create a partnership with them to start a funnel of students from those institutions. Teaching is tough. It's a hard job. It's not it's a thankless profession. And the other thing that we have to watch is we can't discriminate. We can't target people of multicultural backgrounds just because that's who they are. That's against the law.
Thank you. Rosie Arroyo.
Diversity isn't a word to throw around. It's all about inclusiveness and being focused on why you're hiring teachers that are black and brown to match and helps influence our circle that our youth grow up in. There's this model called Circle of Influence. And understanding a youth circle of influence is really implementing teachers that have a strong understanding, not only whatever background they are, but understanding youth culture, diverse culture, Hispanic culture, black culture, pop culture, community culture, family engagement strategies. These are things that are effective to help the discussion. But it's not about just hiring these teachers and staff. It's about how do we professionally develop these teachers and staff to become effective, strong teachers for our youth and students. Diversity is a very, very complicated term, and it's not something that we should just say because we hired a black or brown teacher or someone with diverse language backgrounds. It's more to say that we've developed that teacher to be the best teacher we can have in the school district.
Thank you. Frederick Dandy.
I think to answer your question on diversity, I do believe that yes, our teachers should represent our student body or our current student body, but before we think of hiring, I've been a manager for over 10 years. I'm always more worried about retention than hiring. You can get somebody to walk in the door, but the bigger task is, are you going to be able to retain that person to keep working for you? So as a district, I think what I would focus on is retaining our teachers. As it's been said, that teaching is thankless, but we should make sure that we do have policies that support growth of our current teachers, and also ensure that they feel appreciated, because if that is the case, then by word of mouth, we can always get the teachers that we're looking for, we are targeting. So I would focus on retention and making our teachers feel appreciated than anything else before I go out and try to hire from Howard or whatever university.
Thank you. Is that everybody? Okay, we've had some specific questions. Let's do a nice general one. What are your priorities for the district in the coming year? How and why did you select those issues, and what are your proposals to accomplish them? So your priorities for the district in the coming year, and where do they come from? And we'll start with Ken Tomlinson.
Of course, a nice open-ended one. My focus would be on the bond in the coming years. It will be focusing on the details of what's going into all of this construction, what's going into all 19 schools. I'm currently chair of the Business and Facilities Committee, and that's where a lot of those discussions will happen, those presentations will happen. So my focus will be a lot onto how are we managing those funds, how are we improving our schools, and how are we keeping all of the contractors in check and making sure they're staying within their bounds. The second would be technology. It's something that, it's nebulous. What, does it mean computers? Does it mean programming? What does it mean? Ultimately, it means all of those things, hands-on technology, whether it be with computers, digital fabrication, other things like that. And just more STEM education, engineering and mathematics going into the future is very necessary, no matter what role anybody takes into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Judge.
What he said. I would, for the next couple of years, bond approval, work on our facilities, improve our aging and ragged facilities, improve security. We could improve communication, although we are on Facebook. They have the district website that has a wealth of information, including the bond, including you can put in your assessed value of your home, and you can find out exactly how much question 1, question 2, and question 3 will impact you, and work on the achievement gap, which is an easy thing to throw out there, hard to figure out what to do. But we have experts that work here, and so those are the 3 things. But the most important thing is bond approval, all 3 questions, and working on our aged facilities and security. Thank you.
Thank you. Sanjay Sharma.
Hi. My priorities are security and building maintenance. First thing, I wanted to make sure we have enhanced school security so that kids can get a safe environment. And school building maintenance, hygiene, and other issues are are my highest priority. I am planning if the maintenance are too high for the buildings, it's better to construct new schools than just keep patching the buildings. And second is I wanted to implement STEM classes so that kids can develop skills like communication, problem solving, critical thinking, creative, and data analysis things. So that will make kids strong, as well as when these skills will lead them for more engrossing performances and more polished production and the beautiful art environments.
Thank you. Frederick Dandy.
Okay. I think personally, instead of what the current board wants to do, peddling a bond that will raise everybody's taxes, the taxes in New Jersey are already high. We know that. I think I would take a step back and work on improving the bond and actually get the community involved so they are aware of, what they're voting for, instead of just, hey, let's vote for question 1. This thing was 1 question, now it's 3 questions. Why do we all of a sudden within 1 year now we need 100 million? Yes, we need to do improvements, but we need to take the time to get all the stakeholders involved and not try and just leak in, a midnight referendum. I even wonder why we couldn't do the vote the same time in November, because we are voting on the 6th. I don't know why we couldn't do it the same time to have the vote go at the same time. So I would focus on restructuring the bond to make it focus on the debt we had, the development debt that we have as a district to make our schools infrastructure better.
Thank you. Laurie Neary.
Thank you. My focus would be collaboration, transparency with the community. The role of the board is the oversight. It's the what, not the how. The how is on the district. And I think it's working with the community. Maybe it's town hall meetings quarterly with the community to understand their needs and concerns so that we're working on the right things. It's great to move forward and come up with ideas, but if the community's not behind it, that's where we're challenged. So let's meet with them, speak, communicate, understand their needs and concerns. I think that's my biggest focus.
Thank you. Ben Shore.
Well, I think we need to stop having decisions made from the top to the bottom. I think we need to build a real community. We need decision input from students, from teachers, and most importantly, the parents. They know what they want for their children, they help guide their children, and we need to work with them. So I think when we create our new plans, we should have direct say from teachers into curriculum. I know they have their planning committees, but you know what? The truth is the board doesn't even listen to them. I've spoken to many teachers, and if we can give them some real say in your children's education, I trust our teachers. I think that they can do it. And we really need to have that change and that input from parents, from teachers, and from students. We really need to refocus on special education, further improve it, work on accommodations. For example, if a student with a disability wants to play a sport, we should not stop them just because of that. I mean, we don't discriminate on people. So we'd have to get rid of the administrators who do that, like Dr. John Burns.
Thank you. Barry Dickinson.
The answer to that question is actually pretty easy because the board has goals for the upcoming year. So I'll piggyback onto my colleagues here to the left. The bond, obviously, is the #1 goal for the Board of Education. The last bond we had was in 1999, 20 years ago. That bond is expiring this summer. When that bond expires, we would like to replace that with question 1. That will be revenue neutral to every household in Cherry Hill, and it will actually be a little bit of a reduction in your tax burden. We'll have to manage all those projects. That's going to be a big job in the coming years, not just this year, but years to come. We want to try to reduce the achievement gap, develop a budget that is balanced, and enhance communication with external and internal stakeholders.
Thank you. Sally Tong.
My focus this year is going to be on the modernize our school, having a safe place for the kids. Security is a pretty top priority to our school district. And then technology. Technology is the future. Everything is pretty much based on the technology age as we move forward. Yes.
Thank you. David Rossi.
Teacher satisfaction and retention is definitely a focus that I think is important. Without their satisfaction and without retaining teachers, other struggles come about. In addition to that, security as it relates to obviously physical security, and the district is addressing a lot of that currently, and as well as a number of it in the bond if it does pass. But security as it relates to the climate and the culture. And I think that does trickle down through the teachers as well, and it is important to the students. When I speak to a lot of students, climate, culture, what does that mean? It really means how they feel safe and secure in their building when it comes to the relations with the other students. The health and well-being of them as it relates to infrastructure. We have had, like a number of other districts have had, we've had some mold issues, and that happens. And that's out of my time.
Thank you. Rosie Arroyo.
The youth, that's my main focus. That's our main goal. And I think implementing or always looking at every policy and practice and everything that is developed or discussed through the frame of a youth lens. And also that would help support individual inclusiveness, diversity, and expanding on some of the curriculums and goals that the board is already working on. If we keep forgetting that all of these discussions eventually lead to that youth learning in their learning environment, then we're missing the point. Our focus, and I will hope to continue, is to bring the youth voice to the table, family voice to the table by developing a strategic community engagement outline practice specifically developed for this district to support youth voice at all times.
Okay, thank you. Now 8:21. I think I was going to try 2 more questions, but I think we might go past 9 if we do 2 more. So I think we'll do just 1 more question, and then we'll go to the closing statements. So community members are usually interested in this. How can we create opportunities and dialogue for meaningful collaboration with the community? And we'll start with David Rossi.
I think collaboration is a big deal, and communication. As a matter of fact, our slogan is accountability, collaboration, and transparency, so it kind of falls in there. A number of the school districts in the area have either open forums, they call them town halls, or I can't recall the names of them, but there are a number of them in the area where the whole board gets together, and it is an official board meeting, and they have conversations with the community. They either do it twice a year, once a quarter, I suppose whatever the community really is looking for. And I think that's one of the best ways. However, I can tell you that if I'm elected to the board, I would be available to anyone at any time via email, phone call. If you want to meet with me, I'll be more than happy to. Well, some of the other board members here have, been available one-on-one, and I think that that is an important aspect of what needs to be done as well.
Thank you. Barry Dickinson.
That's a very good question. The Board of Education does very little. There are two things that we do. We change policies, and we hire and evaluate the superintendent. That is really the only power that we have. So communicating to the board really doesn't get the message across. Who the community needs to communicate with are the people in the district, the administration, your schools, your PTAs. Dr. Malash is almost always available at any time to talk to anybody. Matter of fact, he loves to talk to people. He sits in his office waiting for meetings. He's been out innumerable times in the last year for public forums, and he shows up and nobody comes. He's in each of the schools. He's at Ponzio's. He's everywhere, but nobody comes out. So talking to the Board of Education, we really can't do anything.
Thank you. Sally Tong.
Well, having those community meetings I think is a very important goal to achieve certain things, such as the security that we have in the past and many others. But having that dialogue with the other one-to-one is important so they can feel the feedback of what their, that they feel like they need the answer to or for. In order to achieve that goal, we need to let the people know, or community know, or the public school administrator post those information out, not the last minute. I think oftentimes we don't get any information on the bulletin or the Cherry Hill CHCLC. There's not enough time for us to come out and meet up. So if we have it every other month or every quarter, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Frederick Dandy.
Okay. I think one thing I've done very well in my career is, again, getting a problem and fixing it. That has defined my success in several ways. So if I'm the board or I'm the superintendent and I have a meeting and nobody shows up, to me that's a softball. I have to figure out why are they not showing up. We can't say that Cherry Hill residents are that they just can't show up. We have a fall festival coming up in October 21st, and a lot of families will be there. So again, for the board and the superintendent, if people are not showing up for your meeting, have a bouncing castle and call people, and parents will show up with kids, I promise you. So we just have to think outside the board. Don't just have a meeting for rubber stamping that, oh, I had 21 meetings in 19 schools and nobody showed up. There's a reason why they're not showing up. They don't want to be talked down upon. I've been to board meetings where I feel like the board members are just like, okay, you have 3 minutes to talk and your time is done, next. That is not how we hold meetings.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Make us feel appreciated.
Your time is up, sir. Ken Tomlinson.
There are a lot of opportunities for public dialogue. Open public committee meetings and the first week of every month. They're a lot less formal than the board meetings, and there are opportunities to talk about specific topics, curriculum, buildings, facilities, long-term planning, things like that. So they're a great opportunity for people to come out and talk with us. Like was mentioned, we've had a number of coffees across the district. I've been at tables, I was at a table about 6 back-to-school nights. We go out and we go to these events, but like Barry mentioned, people don't come up to us. People don't talk to us. A lot of the coffees ended up just being one or two of us board members and Dr. Malash hanging out for a little while. It's unfortunate, but also to speak to kind of what Barry mentioned, we take public comment seriously, and the best that we can do is follow up with administration, hold administration accountable when people bring things to us. But we can only affect policy and hire a superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Shore.
I'm going to have to disagree. I think the board can do a lot more. And I know that it's very iffy with all the different guidelines and ethics, but I keep hearing our current board members say that they can only do this and that. But the truth is, there's a whole variety of different things that your board members can do for you. Maybe they have to recuse themselves at a certain point of the process, but that doesn't mean that they can be there for you to help you along the way, like I'd be willing to do for you. I set up a hotline, 1-800-ASK-BENJI. That goes right to my cell. If you have a question, you want to know about my policy, my stance, an issue, I will be there for you, 1-800-275-2365. That's me. So if we need to get the community on board, we need everybody talking together. I want town halls, public forums, and clearly the events we're doing is not working. They don't work, so clearly it's failed. So why continue to go to schools when it's just Dr. Malash and two other people, so sorry. But you know what? Guess what? That's not right. We need to figure out new ways of how to get people interactive in the community. Why not send a newsletter home to the parents at the end of the week telling them what events are coming up on the agenda? That's all.
Thank you. Kathy Judge.
In the past year to 18 months, I have attended several meetings that Dr. Malash has held, especially trying to get the information out regarding the bond. They were published, all the dates were published, and some of the meetings were very well attended. And we even added Sunday afternoon meetings because we got some feedback that Saturday mornings were not good for some people. So we even added Sunday afternoon. I went to the one at Carusi. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Nobody came. We sat there for an hour waiting. All these meetings were published. The whole year. So, and we did do some back to school nights. I talked to maybe 3 people. I have been asked to meet with community members. I have done that. I figure I'm an elected official. It's part of my job not to promise anything, but to meet with the constituents that have voted me into this office, and we've done.
Thank you.
We've done a lot. Thank you.
Rosie Arroyo.
Effective collaboration and community engagement requires a strategic community engagement model. It's not just about creating forums or having open public meeting sessions. It's about interaction, engagement, and partnership. The results of that partnership need to be fed back to the community and results in how their voice was heard and whether or not policy was implemented or practices were performed based on their discussion points. There are various strategies that I have done locally here in Camden County to encourage community engagement, family engagement, where people have said no, that family engagement is not allowed. And now I could tell you successfully, I've pushed family engagement to the highest level that you can imagine here in Camden County. Now I believe that Cherry Hill is open to having these community engagement level interaction, engagement, and partnership. But I will ensure that I would always keep the youth and family voice priority by making sure partnership is developed out of engagement strategies.
Thank you. Sanjay Sharma.
Yeah, hi. As a Board of Education, it is basically for collaboration and implementing the policies which state gives to us. But at the same time, I would like to add more transparency to it by adding town hall meetings, as well as if people cannot attend, that means people are either busy or they don't have other resources to come and meet you personally. So we can have some forum or email or some one point of contact going back to the administration as well as BOE, so that they can reply back to them or they can respond back to it. So these type of new collaborative things we can add to make sure people can talk, send their information as well as ideas and different issues they want to communicate. and we need to do better than what we have right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Laurie Neary?
Thank you. I think it's really important that regardless of whether or not people are coming out, we don't stop trying to engage the community. They're out there, they have a voice, they're crying out, they want to be heard. If they're not coming out, we have to ask ourselves why. Do they feel that it's not in climate where they're going to be heard? Or even worse, any of their concerns actioned upon? Their voice is out there and it's loud, so we have to keep trying. That is important. The district and the administration's accountability is to the board. So if the community is concerned, it's their responsibility to have that accountability. I thank you.
All right. I think that's everyone. The candidates will now have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Since these statements are 2 minutes long, the timekeeper will give 30 seconds warning. So don't figure when 15 seconds you have to quick down, quick, but start watching. You're getting near the end, so you have 30 seconds left. And we will start with Barry Dickinson.
As I stated in my opening remarks, serving on the Board of Education in Cherry Hill is personally rewarding and an honor. I've had this honor for the last 6 years, serving as president for the last 2. I served as vice president for 1 term. I've served on virtually all the committees of the board. I've learned quite a bit in this time. I believe this experience is key to being a strong Board of Education member. The operation of a large district like ours is very complex. We've made some difficult decisions this year. We permitted armed campus police officers into the schools for the first time. We will introduce full-day kindergarten next fall. We will be asking voters to approve nearly $211 million on the bond referendum on December 11th to finance critical building improvements. Each of these decisions required balancing many factors. This is an unprecedented time for the district. In no time in the past have so many fundamental changes been implemented virtually simultaneously. The district needs board members who possess experience and understand the complexities of these decisions. The role of a Board of Education member is often misunderstood. A lot of the ideas discussed tonight just are not allowed by law. We do not run the school district. We try to make sure it is run well. We only operate at the policy-making level, like a board of directors in a corporation. This is an unpaid volunteer position. Regardless, I'm very happy to ask you to re-elect me to another term. Kathy, Ken, and I are running as a slate. We all have children in the school district of Cherry Hill. When you sit at the board table, and we take them all into account when we sit at the table and vote. We do our best to balance our decisions for the future for all children, along with taxpayer input. I ask you to consider voting for our slate on November 6th.
Thank you. Frederick Dandy.
On November 6th, my sincere ask is that you vote for a group that would put our kids first. Voting for an experience that will raise our taxes, it's not something that I would ask the community to do. Voting for an experience that has on and off intimidated our teachers who speak is not something that I would ask our community to do. Voting for an experience that has rubber stamped on and off what Dr. Meloch and his administration has done and fostered retaliation is not something that I would ask the community to do. Voting for an experience that has rubber stamped fear so our teachers' voice cannot be heard is not something that I would ask our community to do. Voting for experience that has that actually wanted to deny our kids a chance to protest when they felt that they were not secure, that is not something that I would ask our community to do. Voting for experience that has more than often drowned our voices, drowned our community voices and voices of the parents when we attend meetings is not an experience that I would want us to vote for. Voting for an experience that actually will raise our taxes with this bond that just came from 150 million for the first question to now 250 million for 3 questions is again an experience that myself will not vote for and I would ask the community to vote for. So I'm asking for your vote so that we can have a change and work on redoing the bond so that it does make sense and we do not raise our taxes. Taxes in New Jersey is already high enough. We don't want to vote for an experience that will raise our taxes.
Okay. Thank you. Sally Tong.
Okay. This year is a very unique. This is the first year that we have slate running together. And I have the honor to run together with Lori, Leary, and David Rossi. We have been heavily involved with the fair funding and the BOE meeting. In the past few years, at the back to school light, I have noticed the school conditions in such a bad shape that the student complained to their parents. And like my children complained to me as well. One of my daughter's classmates have problem breathing due to the smells in the room, possibly mold in the room. I was standing at the door and I could smell it right off. And the poor little girl had to go to the emergency room due to the difficulty in breathing. I feel sad, and she is possibly going for the homeschooling this year. And there are ceiling paints or papers falling off the ceiling or hanging loose in the rooms. And they told me that's been there for many, many years. The school lockers isn't working. The carpets are ripping apart. The wall with sheetrocks. There are also buckets to contain the water that is dripping from the ceiling. I can smell the urines in the classrooms. Can you imagine that the student go to school in such a bad condition? Should we do a better way of improving our buildings in any other way that we were working on right now? I think the children deserve a better place. That is their second home.
Thank you.
Thank
Rosie
you.
Arroyo.
Well, thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to share some of my goals and ideas and just a little bit about myself and the work that I do. So I oversee a lot of youth justice development in Camden County. I work closely with different school districts, law enforcement agencies, nonprofit organizations to help restore justice practices be implemented across the county. Because of this, I believe that I am a really good choice for a board member. I believe in looking at policy effectively through a lens of equity and inclusion to reduce all unintentional consequences that may be as a side effect if we don't really look at all the measures of an individual youth on an individual basis. Inclusivity is important, diversity is important. We could do these things by strengthening our teachers and staff capacity, supporting some of the additional goals and development, creating a larger circle of influence for our youth to develop being strong leaders, but also by just supporting the youth in general and always taking the time to hear what they have to say, as well as our parents. So I lend my expertise to the table. I hope you give me an opportunity to be able to share all these things with you and always be able to support our youth and family voice. Thank you.
Thank you. David Rossi.
We've heard a lot of good questions here this evening, and it's obvious that everyone in this room cares about the education of the children in their community. The question the parents and the community members should be asking themselves as they get ready to vote on November 6th is, are you satisfied with the overall educational experience the children of Cherry Hill receive? Are you happy with the condition of our schools, the security in our schools, the overall climate in our school, as well as the culture we see in our school system? Are you satisfied with the level of accountability and collaboration we see as it pertains not only to the administration but the current board as well? Are you satisfied with both the retention of the teachers as well as teacher satisfaction levels? If you can say yes to all those things, then you may wish to vote to continue the path that we are on. If you are not convinced we are excelling in every aspect of the educational experience, then you want to vote for a change. Someone far smarter than I once said, if you can't change the minds of people, then change the people. It will be an honor to represent the best interests of the students in our community. I look forward to working with all stakeholders with the goal of increasing accountability, collaboration, and transparency. So on November 6th, if you would, please vote number 3, 4, and 5.
Thank you. Ben Shore.
If you want real change, vote Ben Shore on Election Day. Thank you. I'm walking out.
Okay. Ken Tomlinson.
Thank you. For the past 3 years on the board, I've come to truly appreciate the challenges of affecting change. I took office before I was 30, already having served as a board member for several multi-million-dollar venture-funded companies, as well as overseeing a multi-million property development projects as my time at a hedge fund. I wanted to bring tech and startup culture and youth into a public body. What I've truly come to appreciate is the role of hearing and understanding concerns and the frustrations that an institution this large does not and cannot change lightly. But I would argue that is a feature and not a bug. I say it's a feature because of the scale. We serve roughly 11,500 students, occupying 1.7 million square feet of buildings, sitting on over 354 acres. Those students come from 80,000 households and speak over 30 languages. And that's what I think of whenever we discuss things at a board meeting. I also want to take a moment to talk about things that we should celebrate. We have so much to celebrate as one large district and how we come together. Things like Volley for Support on Friday, a chance for all of our schools to come together. Athletes Against Bullying, a group between East and West high schools that meet together as well as with the Cherry Hill Community Police. The academics, all of the sports. This school year, we were recognized both, many of the schools were recognized both national and state schools of character. The education our amazing staff deliver day in and day out have few peers across the state. I'm proud of the education our district provides to our students. It's not perfect, but we all strive to make it better every day. Kathy, Barry, and myself are running as a slate because they and myself think of all the children of the district when we're sitting at that board table. And I ask for your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. Laurie Neary.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening and sitting in this rather warm room on this fine fall night. I didn't start this journey to come sit and run for Board of Education when I started advocating several years ago. I got involved because I had children in the district and I care. And I'm not one to sit back and say, okay, I'm not happy with this or I'm not happy with that, then do something about it. And I decided and met these fine people sitting here with me tonight and began aggressively advocating to make real change, to address the issues and concerns we saw, to go speak with the Commissioner of Education regarding the funding crisis in our district and the deplorable condition of our schools, to sit in front of the State Senate Committee and describe for them rather detailed the conditions that we face, and to advocate for our special needs students, as I have too, and for all the students in the district. I think the fact that we have 11 people running this year speaks to the fact that the community has concern, and they have reason to. Yes, there's a lot we do right, but we have to admit there's quite a bit that needs to be fixed. So I hope the community will come out on November 6th and vote, act for BOE 3, 4, and 5.
Thank you. Kathy Judge.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters and Zone PTA for hosting this event. And I'd also like to thank all of you in the community who came out to listen to us, and thank those of you watching via the district streaming. I hope this evening helps make an educated decision when you walk into the booth on November 6th or mail in your ballot. I have a bachelor's degree in business from Eastern Michigan University. I worked at the University of Michigan Hospital, Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, and Cooper University Hospital. I've been a volunteer in this community since we moved here in 1999. I was PTA president at Bret Hart, after which I stepped up to the Zone PTA table as the Board of Ed reporter, and then as zone vice president. I also volunteered at Beck and East and continue to help to this day with Project Graduation at East. I was appointed to the board in 2008 after attending board meetings for several years. My husband and I decided to raise our children here in Cherry Hill for the same reason most of us have, because of the excellent quality of our district. This reputation is due to the many dedicated, talented, and passionate teachers and staff who work in our schools. Our two children have benefited greatly by growing up in this great, diverse township. Their involvement in theater, the vocal department, swim team, have formed both our kids into the well-rounded young adults they are today. My daughter graduated in 2013 from East, and my son graduated in 2016. Barry, Ken, and I are running as a team. We have all the children of Cherry Hill in mind when we sit at the board table and vote. We do our best to balance our decisions for the future of all children along with the taxpayer. It has been my honor to serve and dedicate my time to Cherry Hill for the past 10 years. I have enjoyed representing Cherry Hill in Camden County and around the state to learn as much as possible about public education. I hope after this evening we've earned your vote to serve another 3 years. Please remember to vote November 6th, 9, 10, and 11. Thank you.
Thank you. Sanjay Sharma.
Hi, first of all, I would like to thank you, all of you, for coming and listening to us. And I'm running for Cherry Hill Board of Education because education being a kid's fundamental right, we have a room to improve in the Cherry Hill district. With so much competition and hard work needed by the kids to succeed in their personal and professional life, I want to contribute to the future of all the children's success. For the kids to realize their full and inherent potential, they need holistic approach in imparting education. I know there are a lot of issues in Cherry Hill Public Schools. I am committed and would use my experience to improve both BOE and Cherry Hill School District. I will remove the barriers between progress and challenges. I will build an environment of love, trust, and commitment between students and administration. This will not only help all students, but also their parents. I want to enhance school security and kids' safety so that kids get a safe environment to thrive. School building, maintenance, hygiene, and other issues are also my highest priority. I would like to add in school education curriculum like STEM and more hands-on courses. STEM classes develop skills like communication, problem solving, critical thinking, creative and data analysis type of things. So strong STEM skills lead to more engrossing performance and more polished productions. And as our Board of Education member, I will take on an even bigger fight for kids and parents. I do have lot of ideas which I would like to bring to the Cherry Hill Public School. Thank you.
Thank you. We got everybody. Let's give the candidates a round of applause. Okay, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Camden County and the Cherry Hill Zone PTA, thank you. I offer thanks to all the candidates and all of you who came out. We hope you'll all come out and vote. Take a friend to vote. Don't have a friend who's not registered, get them registered to vote. And of course, you can also vote by making a mail-in ballot nowadays. All right, thank you all.
It was hard sitting in that chair. Very, very hard.